After the Supreme Court struck down New York's proper cause requirement for a concealed carry permit 2 weeks ago, ruling that the right to carry a gun for self-defense must be accessible to the average citizen and not just a special privilege reserved for the elite few, the state of New York was forced to go back to the legislative drawing board to sketch out an even more ridiculous version of the same thing. So now, instead of demonstrating to the state that you have some sort of special need for self-defense beyond the constitutional and moral right to which we are all entitled, the state of New York says you must show them 3 years of your social media history so they can assess your moral character and conduct. And so the response to bastardizing your Second Amendment rights and being forced to fix it is to bastardize the first along with it. We'll only allow your self-defense rights if you demonstrate the sort of speech that we approve of. Watch that one get struck down too, as I'm sure they expect. But in the meantime, they buy themselves potentially a couple years of court battle time during which they can still keep your constitutional rights properly acquainted with their boot soles. And because so many of these restrictions focus on guns as the tool of self-defense, so often does our debate as well, and we end up arguing about how, when, where, and why it's acceptable to use one for personal protection. But implicit in that debate about circumstances and methods is that there are any circumstances or methods that are acceptable anyway. In other words, that lethal self-defense is ever justified at all. But as a case out of New York City this week demonstrates, the answer is commonly no. There is no such thing as justified lethal self-defense. That's why understanding what's at stake in these debates is so crucial. These aren't debates about the tools that we use to defend ourselves. That's a detail that's one step ahead. These are debates about whether we can defend ourselves at all. And in New York, apparently, if a criminal attacks you, you must surrender to be maimed or killed yourself, or you can fight back and go to jail for it. Jose Alba is a 61-year-old Dominican immigrant. He gained his citizenship 14 years ago. And as of last week, he was working as a clerk at the Blue Moon convenience store in Harlem. Sometime around 11 p.m. last Friday, July 1st, a woman and her 10-year-old daughter tried to buy a bag of chips at the shop using EBT, or state food benefits, and for whatever reason, the transaction was declined, which caused the woman to become argumentative. Alba reportedly grabbed the bag of chips away from the girl, which enraged the mother, who then made a mess of the store, which photos shortly thereafter appear to confirm. The woman said she was going to get her boyfriend, who would come back to get the clerk. And her boyfriend is much larger ex-con Austin Simon, who, as promised, entered the store looking for a little more than a discussion on the matter. Simon approached Jose Alba behind the store counter. He grabbed Alba by the neck and tried to force him to apologize to the girl, this according to the store owner, but we don't have to rely on a verbal description. Almost all of this event was captured on store surveillance video, which is graphically violent, but I'll show you what I can. Simon gets behind the counter and appears to be speaking with Alba, but since Alba appears to be ignoring Simon, Simon shoves him against the shelves. Alba sits passively as Simon towers over him angrily, speaking words that we can't hear. Simon grabs Alba by the neck as described by the store owner, and that's when Alba grabs a box-cutting knife and sticks it in Simon's neck. And if you're wondering why I have to censor just a picture of a knife, well, that's because Susan WikiWiki age-restricted my original post of this video, and I had to keep blurring things until Her Highness finally accepted the presentation as suitable for your sensitivity. But anyway, a physical struggle then ensues, and Alba apparently stabs Simon at least 4 more times. Simon collapses onto the floor and dies, and Alba can be seen almost immediately afterward with a cut of his own on his arm. Alba's family says that's because Simon's girlfriend actually attacked him with a knife first, but I'm confused on that timeline because Alba clearly didn't have the arm wound before the fatal fight with Simon, so that arm wound must have happened sometime during this fight, but there's a lot happening off camera, so at least from this angle, you can't say conclusively what caused the arm wound. Regardless, that's not actually a key point. The key points are these. a shopkeep had his space behind the counter aggressively invaded. That shopkeep was physically assaulted, and I'm more than comfortable speculating that shopkeep was verbally threatened in his face by a man twice his size towering over him. And I'm not just speculating based on posture, I'm speculating based on record. Austin Simon was out on parole at the time for assaulting a police officer and had at least 8 prior busts for violent crime, according to a New York Post records review. Alba, meanwhile, has never been convicted of anything. He has a totally clean criminal record. So the circumstances show it, the video shows it, every fact in this case shows it. This was a man who defended himself with lethal force only when imminently threatened and actively attacked. If this is not a justified case of self-defense, then nothing is. But again, since apparently nothing is in New York, this isn't either. And so Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg charged Jose Alba with second-degree murder, despite an agenda of criminal leniency otherwise, and sent Alba to jail on Rikers Island, originally with bail set at $250,000, and that was actually a gesture of mercy. Prosecutors had asked for $500,000, but the judge was feeling generous. This charge applied apparently because police and prosecutors believe Alba and Simon were equally involved in the conflict that led to the stabbing, a ridiculous conclusion based on the video evidence, but a ridiculous conclusion, ironically, not applied equally itself. If everyone was equally involved with this conflict, then how is the girlfriend not also charged for her role in initiating that conflict? Not just verbally, but allegedly with a knife of her own. According to the prosecutor's own criminal complaint, Simon's girlfriend took a knife from her purse and stabbed Alba in the arm. The store owner doesn't understand why she isn't charged, and police confirm she was never even arrested at the scene. Only Alba was. But hey, if the charge and the bail are as ridiculous as they appear, then this is going to be a slam dunk case for any competent defense attorney, right? Well, maybe, but even a single night spent in jail and a single dollar paid to get out for so clearly defending yourself is still an injustice, and B, it's not just police and prosecutors teaming up against Alba to throw obstacles at him. Now GoFundMe has banned him too. A page was set up to raise money for Alba to cover his legal costs, and on Wednesday night, GoFundMe took it down and refunded all the money to the donors. At the time, the account was holding over $20,000. GoFundMe says it does not allow fundraising for the legal defense of a violent crime. But this was not a violent crime. This was defense from violent crime. And even if you disagree with that indisputable demonstration on video, the whole point is that the jury assesses whether this was violent crime or not. Any conclusion beforehand means that a simple charge implies guilt. It means presuming guilt rather than presuming innocence. People have taken notice of this abusive treatment, though, and so Alba has now been released from jail and is at home with an ankle monitor, this after posting the required 10% of a reduced $50,000 bail. That bail reduction, coming after prosecutors and the judge, yielded to public outrage about this case. Public outrage that includes the mayor himself, Eric Adams, who says that Alba is being wrongfully treated and is clearly a law-abiding citizen.
We have enough people who are there for people who break the law. I'm a person that's there for people who follow the law. And as I saw it from the video, I saw a worker here inside the store following the law. And he should not have been approached in the manner that he was approached.
But even if, relative to rotting in Rikers, Alba's release seems like some kind of win, it really isn't. Not just because the money paid and the home confinement is still a horrendous injustice, and it is, but because this caving to public pressure is also no way for a justice system to operate. Bending prosecutorial and judicial decisions to public whim demonstrates that these decisions were never made based on the facts or the law in the first place. Nothing has changed about the facts. Nothing has changed about the law. The only thing that has changed is the politics of public outrage, and we do not want a system where prosecutors and judges make decisions based on the politics of public outrage. Even if the mob is correct in this case, and I do believe that they are, a justice system driven by mob outrage is no justice system at all. And that's not me criticizing the public's reaction. That is me criticizing the prosecutors and the judge who, by caving, despite no factual or legal changes in this case, admit that their decisions have been politically motivated the whole time. But more importantly, even though the bail and the home confinement are completely outrageous, they are not the primary injustice in this case. The charge itself is. If this case isn't one of justified self-defense, then I need to hear these prosecutors describe what exactly is, because I don't have an imagination creative enough to think up such a scenario. Apparently, if you're ever confronted by one of the criminals they otherwise so easily release from jail, in many cases with no bail or even charges at all, you are to submit to their threats and abuse, and it's them who get to decide whether you live or die, not you. And if you dare challenge that arrangement, it is you who goes to jail, not them. It is not about guns. It is not about knives. It is not about proper cause or good moral character or the Facebook posts that demonstrate such things. The common conclusion to which all of these specifics lead is your submission and dependence to the state, and if the state deems it useful, to criminals. The argument about weapons is irrelevant. Cynically, it's an intentional tactic to get you to accept their end goal in steps, because if these people have their way, your only weapon in a self-defense situation will be to ask very nicely for the mercy of an insane person. So brush up on your politeness and your manners. Be sure to say, "Please don't kill me, Mr. Parole Man, and thank you for this opportunity to appeal." Otherwise, you'll be equally responsible in your own murder. And even then, you probably won't be off the hook. The way this is going, I won't be surprised to see them charge and prosecute your dead body anyway. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Minds, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chatting my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it.